what it means to be a mental health coach. Like, what have you learned along the way?
There's a big story behind this, and I'll give the short version, but I took my first sip of alcohol when I was 11 years old. That opened up 10 years of alcoholism and drug abuse into my life, and lost a basketball scholarship because of it. And when that happened, I felt like I lost my identity to this world and to myself, and decided I was going to end my life. And I had this miracle happen that changed the course of my life. And again, it was the words from my mentor to this very day. I'll never forget. He said, "Todd, no matter whatever your struggle is, I believe in you." And just hearing those words, that sentence is, I was like, man, how come this guy can believe in me when I don't even believe in myself, right?
Hi, everyone. I am Becky Kemp, and we are back for another episode of The Word Effect. And I am so excited to have a conversation with Todd Sylvester. Hi, Todd. How are you?
Great, Becky. Thanks for having me on your show. I'm
Oh,
super excited, and you're one of my favorite people in the world. So this is an honor to be here with you.
you are so kind. Well, I was thinking back how we met a few years back. It's probably been 3 or 4 years now. I was at Pinner's conference, and it wasn't even you that came up to me, but somebody that works with you or somebody that knows you was like, "Hey, I think you would be a great guest on Todd Sylvester's podcast." And I was like, "Okay, I'm always up for that." And then somehow we got connected. It took us a while to finally do that, but I had an opportunity to sit on your couch and be on your podcast. And I think I've been on it 2 or 3 times now.
Yeah.
But you are an amazing person. So I can't wait to let people know a little bit more about you. Most people probably already do. But what I love is that you're passionate about changing your life. And then you take that passion and help others do the same thing. So for just a brief second, tell us a little bit about how you got into your podcast.
Yeah, that's a great question. And yeah, the way we met was really cool. And I'm grateful for my friend. His name's Kirk. He's the one that met
Okay.
you
Okay.
and got us lined up. And then we've been instant friends since then. And we've done a lot of speaking events together and also podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, yeah, I started my podcast about 8 years ago. And, I'm a I'm a counselor and a mental fitness coach. I've been doing that for 30 years. I work with people who struggle with addiction, mental health issues, anxiety, depression. Really the list kind of goes on from there. But I would hear these stories of people who have overcome some of the most horrific things, things you would think no one could get over, and to find success after this heartache and pain. And I thought, man, I want to share these stories. And it was that's really what started. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to do a podcast and start sharing some of these stories. And, I bought this starter kit on Amazon for like $99 and started doing, I had one mic. It was really awkward. We'd all lean into the one mic.
Yes.
After about 5 or 6 episodes, I'm like, yes, I really want to do this. And so I went all in. I bought all the best equipment and I haven't looked back. I've posted one episode for the last 8 years every week. I'm almost to 500 episodes. I think I'm about 4 away from that. And then we're ranked in the top 100 in mental health in the world. And it just blows my mind. And it's because of people like you who have come on my show, who get vulnerable and share their, deepest, darkest struggles and
Mm-hmm.
what they did to get past them and overcome them. And I think people tune in because they're going through their own struggle, obviously, and they want to have some inspiration. And when we can see someone else can do it, then maybe we can as well. And so, yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I call it a belief cast because I'm really passionate about beliefs because our beliefs dictate the way we show up in the world. And so, yeah, that's kind of why I call it a belief cast.
It's so awesome. And it is so true. I've listened to many of yours and have had the opportunity to be a guest. And I've had people actually reach out to me from that and say thank you. Or I heard what
Yeah,
you said. And I love that you're taking people's stories and it gives people hope because no two people have the same story, but you
right.
and I connected on things like addiction and not feeling like enough. And I remember when I talked about my book, The Word Effect, you talked about I talked about being content, and that really grabbed your attention out of all the different things. And that's what I love about the power of words and the word effect in all of our lives, is that different things like stand out to us and we become aware to them. And so you, just by putting this platform out there, allows people to find hope and find those words that they need so that they can continue forward on their journey. Is that what you're finding or is happening with people as they share?
Absolutely. I hear it all the time. That one sentence or that one word changed everything that I thought about my life. And it gave me some inspiration to move forward or to get through this ordeal or trial that I'm experiencing. And I got people who will say that episode saved my life. Like literally, like I was going to end my life. And because of that, I decided not to. And I know you know this, but the power of a word or a sentence can turn the tide of our history. So yeah, I mean, that's why again I do this, because people need to hear something that's going to get them through the darkest moments of their life, and to realize that we're not alone either. That's also really cool to have that connection. And stories save lives, again, that's what I've noticed, and it's makes me continue to want to move forward with it.
That's so true. Stories do save lives. Our own story will save our life, right? Because
Yeah,
we're writing our story, but then the
yeah,
power of other people's stories gives us the courage to step forward. So you said that you've been a mental health coach and in addiction for several years, and I know that.
yeah.
Tell us just a little bit about what it means to be a mental health coach. Like, what have you learned along the way? I do a lot with coaching and consulting with the power of words. And what I do know is I'm always my first customer. Like, I have got to do this myself, right? And so I'm sure you kind of maybe saw some needs and then have kind of gone. But tell us a little how you got into that.
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a big story behind this, and I'll give the short version. But I took my first sip of alcohol when I was 11 years old. That opened up 10 years of alcoholism and drug abuse into my life, and lost a basketball scholarship because of it. And when that happened, I felt like I lost my identity to this world and to myself, and decided I was going to end my life. And getting ready to do that, I had this miracle happen that changed the course of my life. And again, it was the words from my mentor to this very day. I'll never forget. He said, "Todd, no matter whatever your struggle is, I believe in you." And just hearing those words, that sentence is, I was like, man, how come this guy can believe in me when I don't even believe in myself, right?
Mhm.
So this guy took me under his wing, and he helped me change my life, helped me overcome addiction, and helped me not only overcome addiction, but like how to live a good life,
Mhm.
principle based. He taught me the power of honesty and integrity and accountability, and to help other people. And I'll never forget when I kind of had my life going in a really good direction. He's like, "What do you want to do now that your life is going in this direction?" I said, "I want to help people. I want to make a difference in people's lives. And I want to speak, and I want to write a book, and I want to coach people." And, the list went on. And I'll never forget what he said. And to your point, Becky, he said, "If you're going to do that, do you know what the hardest thing for you to do will be?" And I'm like, "No." And I didn't know where he was going with that. He says, "Practice what you preach." And when he said that, I knew what he meant.
Yes.
Then I found myself, Becky, I'd be speaking to a group, this is like 30 years ago. And I remember telling this group to do a certain thing or do certain things. And then after I was done, I was like, I'm not doing any of those things. And,
Yeah.
and he was right. It was so difficult to be able to practice what I preach. And so I made it a commitment to myself back then that I'm not going to tell anyone to do unless I'm doing it myself. And so I really try to honor that by, if I'm going to have my clients or my family members or even, a friend who's struggling, if I'm giving them advice to do this, this, and this, I better make sure I'm doing it myself so I can look them in the eye and say, I'm doing that. And that just opened up the door to, when I got clean and sober for the first time, like I said, I wanted to help people. I really wanted to help younger kids not have to go through what I've gone through.
Mhm.
So more preventative, if you will. So I decided to create a drug-free program, educational program for elementary school aged kids, fourth, fifth, and sixth graders. And it was called Sly Dog. That was my nickname in high school.
Okay.
And I created this animated cartoon character. I actually had a graphic designer create this animated character. I got a mascot made. His motto was drug free, that's me. And I thought, I'm going to go to elementary schools. I'm going to teach them to believe in themselves, to help other people, and to stay away from drugs and alcohol. That was the simple message.
Yeah.
And I went all in, and I was going head to head against the DARE program.
Okay.
And I thought, I'm a very competitive person. And I thought, I want to crush the DARE program, not in a way that I thought it was bad, but I want to make mine just so much more. And
Mhm.
so I didn't just go do an assembly at a school and leave. I would do an assembly for 5 days in a row, and I stayed at the school the entire day. I would eat
Wow.
lunch with the kids, I'd play with them at recess, I would help them with their homework. I was like one of the teacher's aides, I'd be in there, and I'd have the mascot walking around the hallways, and it was amazing. And I did that for the next 5 years, spoke to over 350,000 kids, and from that, parents would come up to me and say, "Oh my gosh, my son or my daughter loves your program. They're really struggling. Would you meet with them one on one?"
Mm.
Like, sure. And I never had done that before, never even thought of that. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll meet with them one on one. And that's where my coaching and my counseling took off. I realized I had a knack for this, and I was helping kids with anxiety and depression and not believing in themselves, and helping them go through all that, and finding purpose in their life and believing that they could do anything. And man, I was like, oh, this is what I want to do. And now I've done over, I mean, I've been doing it for 36 years. I've done over 18,000 one-on-one sessions since then. And again, it just opened up the door to do speaking events. And I'm here at Wasatch Recovery. I'm a counselor there. I've been there for 13 years. And it's just been my life's work. And it all kind of started because of my own battle and my own struggle with addiction myself. And I'm a huge believer that life happens for us. And I didn't realize it at the time, but man, I'm one of the lucky ones who didn't die from overdose.
Mhm.
Um, and because I have several friends and family members who have, and when I think of that, it chokes me up. But I'm grateful that I made it through that, and now I feel like a responsibility to give back and help other people.
Todd, thank you so much for sharing that. And I love that it started with someone believing in you, and now you have taken that and you believe in others. So
Yes,
those 18,000 one-on-ones, you're sitting across from them and you can offer that same idea that I believe in you,
yes,
right? And like, and it's about the one, it's about helping one another. And sometimes we need someone else to see more in us than we can see in ourselves.
absolutely,
Our brains are always telling us we are the worst. We're comparing our worst to everybody's best, especially through the era of social media, right? It's like, I mean, I look at you, and to hear this reminds me like how far you've come. You didn't just wake up one day and then have this top ranked podcast. It was like I have this desire to do something good, and this is a platform, and you tried it and then you realize it was filling your cup. And so then you've made it into what it's becoming. It's still becoming, right? It's still evolving every single day. And same with, okay, I can take the principles I'm learning and I'm going to help others. I love that idea because I think that's really what words do to us is they put us on a path. Words are our compass and they lead and guide us. And we just have to show up each and every day. So tell me
absolutely.
about, what does that mean to you to show up today? What does that mean if someone said, "How do I show up, Todd? How do I show up to life?"
Well, it reminds me of this quote that a client shared with me, and I put it to my memory because it means so much, and I think it sums up what you're asking here. Is And it goes like this: I tried to find myself, myself I could not see. I tried to find my God eluded me. I tried to find my brother, I found all three. And I feel like that's that is at the core of what life is, I think, because for me to show up is to give back, right? To help someone else. I do understand, though. I try to be the best version of me, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So I do this thing. I had the same mentor that I refer to a lot, and I will continue to refer to this guy because he saved my life. He told me, if you really want to be the best version of you and really want to be the best for others, you have to come up with a morning routine.
Mm,
And he didn't give me much guideline after that. He just said, you got to come up with something. And he said, the morning routine isn't having a cup of coffee and watch the sunrise, which is nothing wrong with that. But he
yeah.
said, no, be consciously and have an intent every morning and have a routine that you're going to follow. And to this day, I call it my hour of power. And I do this thing. It's for an entire hour. I do it 5 days a week. It's my morning medication. And,
Yeah.
I set my intent. I say a prayer. I read my personal declaration statement that I've created over the years. I read from a book called Mind is the Master by James Allen. It's a 1,000-page book. I read that and study that for an hour, or excuse me, 30 minutes of that hour. And then I spend some time in the silence. And then I write an appreciation letter and I drop it in the mail to someone. And I'll tell you, that hour of power has been the greatest gift that I've given myself, and I'm so grateful that my mentors showed me and challenged me to do that. Because of that, I can show up for people all day long, especially my family and my clients, and I can be there for them. I can lift them to higher ground because I'm there myself. Instead of trying to push them to higher ground because I'm not there either, that's exhausting. But when I'm standing on higher ground, I can help people all day and pull them up there because I'm standing there myself. And that hour of power kind of sets the stage for that.
Oh, that is beautiful. I think you've shared that with me before, but I'm like blown away. I love the hour of power, of course. I love just the succinct of it all.
Yeah.
But how did you come up with, if someone's listening and going, oh my gosh, that's amazing, but how do you get started? I mean, it didn't just all of a sudden happen, right? Because you just said your mentor kind of challenged you, but didn't tell you much more than a routine. So, how did you know what things to put into your routine, or how did you figure this out to get there? So if someone's listening going, well, an hour of what would I do with myself, you know what I mean, like that feels overwhelming. Where do you start?
Great question. I was never a morning person.
Hmm.
So that was one of my biggest challenge. I'm telling you, you know, when my mentors challenged me to do that, you got to get up early enough to do this before you kind of start your day. And I told him, I'll never forget this. I'm like, well, I'm not a morning person. I'm a night owl. And he goes, that's just a belief system. That's just a story you've told yourself. And I'm telling you, Becky, becoming a morning person for me, was way more difficult than overcoming alcoholism and drug addiction. I kid you not. And I don't say that lightly. It was so difficult. And it took me a year of really trying to get up early to becoming a morning person. I had to change my mindset. I had to change my belief system, but actually going through that, it was so hard. So, and then I didn't start off doing an hour. I started off doing 15 minutes, and I
Okay.
tried to make that 15 minutes a habit. And that was part of that year process. It took me a year to get 15 minutes as a habit in the morning. But once I got that dialed in, I was like, "Oh, I could feel the power of it." I was like, "Wow." And I can honestly tell you now, I'm a morning person.
Yeah.
I changed that perception, that belief system that was holding me back. And then that 15 minutes, I did that until I was comfortable with that. And again, I was just trying things. I would start with a prayer. I would try to meditate for 5 minutes, and then I would read 5 minutes of affirmations, if you will. And I just started there. And and then, like anything else, as you work on something, you start getting inspiration and ideas to expand on it. And that's really what started to happen. I bumped it from 15 minutes to 30 minutes. I did that for a long while. Then I went to 45 minutes and then eventually got to the hour. And then I just over time, I had this inspiration on starting it off a certain way
Uh-huh.
and studying a certain book and then ending in a certain way. It was all inspiration, honestly, revelation, if you will.
Well,
And
and it's just like it's the things are directing you, right? That
yes,
you have to show up. You
yep,
had to show up. You had to try it. So often,
yep,
one of my, if, for lack of better words, I guess character defects is when things feel hard. My common reaction is I want to pull away.
yeah,
Like I don't want to do it until I'm good at it.
right,
But the truth is to get good at anything takes practice. It takes putting the work in to learn a new skill. And so I love that. What do you mean by like when your mentor said that's just a belief system? Because I know you talk a lot about belief systems. So let's
yes,
dive into that. Tell me a little bit more
yeah.
about what is a belief system if someone's going, well, I don't even know what I believe. I mean, you had to gain an awareness to this, right?
Yeah, well, a belief system stems from a lot of things, our experiences, the way we were raised, just being born, you're going to start creating belief systems about your world and about you. And some are good and some unfortunately are negative and hold you back. And I had created a story in my head that I was a night owl, and then I proved it by staying up late and hating mornings. So
Yes.
I had the proof that was backing up what I was saying. But when my mentor challenged me, he said, no, that's again just a story you've been telling yourself, and you can actually change the story. And obviously, we know now through sports science, that neuroplasticity, we can reprogram our self image
Yes.
on a subconscious level where all our stories and belief systems live, right? And so I'm telling you, I didn't understand it at first, but I started practicing. I would just start telling myself, no, I'm a morning person. I'm no longer the night owl. I'm a morning person. And then every now and then I would have some evidence that would back it up. I would like, oh man, I actually got up early and did my 15 minutes of power, if you will. And I had a little bit of evidence that backed up what I was saying. And when those two worlds start to come together, it starts to form a belief system. Growing up, I had this belief that I was stupid, to be quite honest. I didn't share that with people. I'm really open about it now, but I had this belief that I was stupid and I would get horrible grades. I was in resource classes. I got a 5 on the ACT. I mean, I'm not kidding you. It's kind of comical now, but at the time, man, all my behaviors backed up that belief that I was
Proved it.
stupid.
Mhm.
But
Mm.
again, it was just a story that I had told myself, but no one teaches you that as a kid, right? And so, again, thanks to this mentor of mine, he's like, okay, that also is a story. What if you started telling yourself that you were smart or brilliant or intelligent? And even the thought of saying that felt so weird. I'm like, oh, I don't know. And it's like, and his point was, you got to start somewhere. And
Mm.
so belief systems are just stories that we've told ourselves because of the experiences we've been through. Unfortunately, some of us go through abuse and trauma, and those can cause us to start telling ourselves a story in a negative way that holds us back. The cool thing is, for anyone listening, is that if we identify those negative beliefs, we can actually flip it and change them in a really profound way. It does take effort and work, obviously, and a lot of trial and error, if you will. But that's so cool that thanks to the sports science that has studied that we can actually change our self-image on a subconscious level, and when we do that, it's permanent. And
Mm.
I'm a morning person now, and to be able to say that, man, I got power behind it, and I actually believe it, and now my actions back that up. So, kind of a long answer to
No,
that.
I love it, and it really reminds me of, like, what we think about, we bring about,
Yeah,
and so we get a as humans, one of the powers that we have is that we can change our thoughts. We can change where we focus. There's a lot of things, and we've talked about this, but we can't change our circumstances. We can't change a lot of the circumstances in our lives today. I'm a mom of 5 boys. I can't change that, but yet I can find joy and happiness in being a mom of all boys, right? You
right.
can't change a lot of the things in your life, but you can take where you're at and make the most of it. And I love it's just that little simple shift, but yet sometimes the shift can feel so simple that we just keep telling ourselves the same story. We keep rinse and repeating that same negativity that I'm not good enough. It made me think about when I was a little girl, I always wanted to write a book. I wanted to be a speaker. I wanted to be on TV, but I never pursued any of those things either because for fear of failure, because I saw the people doing it and I couldn't realize that they didn't start there. I didn't know how to get there. I didn't know how to do that. So I started to focus on all the things I can't do. All
Yeah.
the things I can't do. And I remember when I was wanting to write a book, and this was when I was really starting to see the value of words. And I started to think, why couldn't I write a book about how words have kind of changed my life? And I would go to Barnes and Noble or something and I'd see all the books on the bookshelf
Right.
and I'd think, well, I can't, all the ideas are out there. Like I don't have a good idea. I can't write a book. And then I had this little shift of, wait a minute, if all these people can write a book, why I can write a book? There's room. So instead of like the scarcity mindset, it was like all of a sudden there's an abundance. Like if other people can do this, I can. And so then it was like I had to just shift that to like I can do this, and then that put me on a path to do the next step, to do, to get to where I am and still have places that I want to go that I'm still going for. But it really has to do with the way we talk to ourselves and our beliefs. If we can believe differently, if we're not getting the result we want, right?
Yeah, no, I love that example. And it reminds me, I love this example of a guy named Roger Bannister. And this is a true story. He was the first person to run a mile under 4 minutes. And before he ran the mile under 4 minutes, the cultural belief was it's impossible for a human to run that fast. And if you tried, your heart would explode. That was the narrative. And so
Mm.
everyone believed you couldn't do it. It was universal. Well, Roger Bannister, if you read his story, he's like, no, I'm going to be the first person to do it. And sure enough, and I think it was April of 1954, he was the first person to run a mile under 4 minutes. And it was amazing, right? It's like, oh my goodness, a human being just did this. It was one of the most amazing things that ever had happened at the time, one of the greatest, feats of all times. And then what happened is it changed the world's belief system.
Yes.
So all of a sudden, rapid fire, people all over the world started running a mile under 4 minutes. His record lasted for 46 days. And now I think it's like 25,000 people since then have now run a
Have
mile
done that.
in minutes, and high school kids are now doing it. And it just goes to show, it's like, oh, if Roger can do it, oh, I guess I can. And all of a sudden it changes your belief system when you get to that starting line. Like, I can probably run a mile under 4 minutes. And sure enough, people all over the world are doing it. And so that barrier of you couldn't run a mile under 4 minutes wasn't real. It was just a story that was been told, and over and over and over again. We see it all the time in our society. I see it all the time with addiction. Like, once an addict, always an addict. That was a barrier. That's not true. And once someone breaks through that and says, no, that's not true, it's like, oh, I can do that too. And it kind of opens up this whole new world for you. And that's why we got to be careful how we do talk to ourselves, because they form these beliefs that can keep us stuck for the rest of our lives when they're not even real.
Hmm.
So
And
anyway,
they're so powerful, right? Because they are something that we can break through or overcome. I want to go back to kind of what you were saying just with the running. I love that story. The he didn't just have to decide that he was going to do it. He had to do the work. He practiced, I'm sure, every day, and he learned how to increase his speed and his endurance. And there was things just like when you decided I'm going to be a morning person, it was more than just telling yourself that, right? Because sometimes people think that, positive affirmations, or you just think positive thoughts and then your life, poof, it all just goes well, right? And I have not experienced that myself.
amen.
Some days are easier than others, but it's like you've got these tools that you're constantly practicing, and you learn like, okay, honoring commitments, being trustworthy, showing up to my regimen of becoming better at whatever that is the process. So we talked before we started, you're getting ready to be in a big race this weekend. Let's go there for just a minute.
Yeah.
uh, why do you put yourself in races? Tell us what you're doing there, and just that idea of, because I'm sure you've been practicing.
Yeah. Great uh, subject. I love this. I'm doing a Spartan race on Saturday. This will be my sixth one. For those who don't know what a Spartan race is, I'm doing the Spartan Beast. And what it is, it's going to be a snow basin. You start at the bottom of the resort, and you have to run all the way to the top of the mountain there and all the way back down. It's 13.1 miles. You have to do 30 obstacles, and the obstacles are very, very difficult. And if you can't do the obstacle or you fail at trying, you have to run a penalty run or you end up doing 30 burpees. And I remember the first year I did this, I ended up running almost 18 miles because of penalty runs. Um,
Oh,
and so, yeah, it is one of the hardest things I've ever done, to be quite honest, Becky. It is one of the most difficult challenges. I run a marathon once a year as well. This is way harder than the marathon by far. It taxes you in every possible way. And so, yeah, I've been training a lot. I do a lot of weightlifting. I do a lot of running and a lot of grip work and, strengthening my arms and my shoulders, my back, you name it, right? Whatever I can do to be better at it. And it's tough. Last year, we were talking about this before we went live. When I finished the race last year, I looked at my family and says, I'm never doing this again. And then 3 days later, I signed up for this year, and here I am, this Saturday, 2 days away, I'm doing it again. But I honestly do it for a couple reasons. One, I love pushing myself. Two, it really is like a year's worth of therapy for me. The Japanese have this practice called misogi, and what it is they call it a purification process. And what it is they challenge you to pick one thing a year that takes you out of your comfort zone. It could be a race. It could be starting a podcast. It could be writing a book. It could be something out of your comfort zone every year. And if you do it, they basically equate it to a year's worth of therapy, and it's a purification process. And it's true. I've noticed that when I'm struggling, it's like I can refer back to, hey, I did a Spartan. I can get through this.
yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. And so anyway, that's one of the main reasons. And I love the challenge and I love pushing myself, and it gives me something to look forward to every year, and it keeps me motivated to get to the gym and to take care of my body. And I'm
Well, and it
58
keeps
years
you
old.
doing those little things, right? And
Yeah,
and you've done all this preparation, and regardless of all the preparation you do, there's probably going to be an obstacle or a challenge that you maybe didn't anticipate, or that is harder than you thought, or you're thinking I should be able to do this, and it's, I mean, whatever come, there's always going to be some sort of opposition, for lack of a better word, right? But
absolutely.
you've trained yourself to go, but I know that I can overcome this, I can step around this, I can do this, I've done this before. And that's the power of our mind, right? That's the belief that I can do this regardless of what comes, right? And that's that inner drive that keeps us going, I would say. So good luck to you. I'm sure you're going to slay the beast, the Spartan beast, but I know
That's the plan.
it's there'll probably be a few moments where you're going to have to dig into yourself
Yeah,
and believe in yourself, just like what
there
your
will.
mentor did.
There's always a moment on the course where I'm going, okay, why did I sign up for this? But yeah,
Yes.
it's funny at the start of the race, they have a guy announcing, and they're getting you pumped up for the race. And there's a saying that they have. They say, when you get to the finish line, you will know. And that's all they say. When you get to the finish line, you will know. And sure enough, when you do, you cross the finish line. I mean, most of the time I cried tears of joy. There's some pain there too, but it's like, yes, when you cross that finish line, and you know what you just put yourself through, and you did it. And anyway, it's a lot of cool things I get from it, and I'm excited to do it. So
And you inspire so many others through your journey. So thank you for sharing that. As we
absolutely.
kind of get close to wrapping up, I want to just jump into one more thing. Uh, as a speaker, I talk about the power of words and intentional language. And one of the first things I like to bring to people's mind is, first off, an awareness. You can't change anything until you become aware to it. And the simplest way I've found to become aware to things is through words, like putting the power of having a good mentor, having good
Yeah.
books. I'm hearing you talk about, you pray. There's lots of different things that you do, and they all include words to some degree, right? And even just our self talk. And so you've become aware to words in one way or another. And then you've kind of put you on this path of like helping others become aware of words through their beliefs and different things like that. But tell me, like if someone was going, okay, this is striking a chord with me and I'm hearing this and I'm feeling that little feeling of hope, what's a tool that someone could use to even just start challenging maybe one belief or start doing something different? Because if it's like me, when I hear these things, sometimes I get really excited and then I go, I don't know what to do next. And then I just kind of keep doing the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Do you have a tool or a tip that you
Yes.
could kind of share as we end?
Yeah, absolutely. The most powerful force in the human psyche is the story we tell ourselves about ourselves. So it's everything. And not to bring back the Spartan, but over here, I've had this taped on my desk for 2 weeks. And I don't know if you can't read it, but I'll read it to you. It's my conquer list for the Spartan. And
Okay.
when things get hard, and I've got 11 things on here, and I'll just go through them quickly. I have on here, I have unlimited energy. I am resilient. Love is my superpower. I am powerful beyond measure. I am confident. Grit is in my DNA. My mind is powerful. My body is strong. I am so lucky. Good things always happen for me. The universe has my back. And then last is have fun. And those are the words I'm going to tell myself on that course when it's kicking my butt.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
and the power of those words. That simple little exercise, I mean, I got goosebumps just telling you about that,
I did too. It
right?
makes me want to run next to you,
I
and I
know,
I don't
and
even want to be in the race, but I'm like, I want to be saying that to
yeah,
myself.
and and so for those listening to this, yeah, you hear this like, "Oh, yeah, I'm excited, change your narrative, do this." How do we do that? I think a really simple way to do this, because 'cause I'm all about simplicity like you are, Becky. Let's just simplify this. An exercise which is very vulnerable to do is get get your notepad and start writing down what are some of the negative things you tell yourself. Now, it's not the funnest thing to do,
Yes.
but again, you talked about the awareness piece. We have to be aware. What is the negative things? So, as hard as it may be, guys, write down, like mine would have been, I'm stupid. I look funny. No girl's ever going to want to date me. I'll never get married. My life sucks. The list goes on, right? So be vulnerable and write down the negative things you tell. I call it the bully list, if you will. Then once you have that list, I do what I call the champion list. I take each negative and I flip it and add my name. So if it says I'm stupid on the bully list, on the champion list, I'm going to put I, Todd, am brilliant. I,
Mhm.
Todd, am smart. I, Todd, am lovable. I, Todd, have a beautiful wife. I, Todd, and and so now you have the opposite list. That new champion list, if you will, now becomes my daily affirmations. And just like you said, Becky, it takes work. I'm going to read that list to myself out loud 4 or 5 times a day,
Yes.
right? And here's the thing, and I learned this from a guy named Alex Harmozy, confidence without evidence is delusion. So it's one thing to read the affirmation list. Like it's one thing for me to read this, right? But I want to have proof that backs up what I'm saying. So on the course, when I'm running, I'm cooking, and I'm telling myself I have unlimited energy. Well, as I'm running, I'm like, well, here's the proof. Look at me. I'm conquering this mountain right now. I've
Yes.
got
Yes.
proof that kind of backs it up. I just slayed that last obstacle. There's proof. So in our own lives, where's the proof that I am this person today? So when we're going to start writing down, where's some evidence that I was that person today? So not only are you saying these positive things, now you got a stack of evidence that back up what you're saying. That starts to formulate that new belief system, right? And then in real time, I do this thing. It's the 3 R's: recognize, refuse, replace. Real simple. Recognize when you have a negative thought, refuse it. Like, you know what? That is not me anymore. I'm no longer the broken, damaged, stupid person anymore. I'm not accepting that. And then I replace it. I taught him brilliant. I taught him lovable. I taught matter. Recognize, refuse, replace. Recognize the negative thought, the awareness piece you talk about, Becky. Refuse it and then replace it. I'm telling you guys, it's so simple, but yet some of us will never even start that. There's a beautiful quote by Dipin Parmar that says, "The magic you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding." I
Yes.
promise you guys, if you did that simple bully list, champion list, recognize, refuse, replace, and just started working on that, build the evidence. I'm telling you, it will change your life. And that's how I got to where I'm at today. Thankfully, again, because my mentors showed me how to do that.
Thank you for sharing that. And I 100% want to just say, if you're listening, I take this challenge, but be careful that you don't just do it in 3 days and you're better, right? Like it's a consistency effort. I think the very first words that really struck me, I just want to share this, is when I was really dealing with some depression, anxiety, and some addiction issues. I heard the words, actually it was from a Netflix documentary on food, but it was, I accept myself unconditionally. And the challenge was to say those words to myself 5 times in the morning, in the middle of the day, and at night. And I, like you, wrote it on a little piece of paper so I could remember it. I mean, it was that simple. And I realized later on that I didn't accept myself unconditionally.
Mm,
But over time, I started to say that. And then I started to find the evidence, just like what you were saying. And then that has become a really big turning point for me, because I fall into comparison a lot and I fall into perfectionism, and to all of a sudden refuse that thought, like first I can go, oh, I'm aware to that. And then I can refuse it. And then I can say something else, like I can prove to myself that I'm moving forward. And so I've experienced that. I know it's true that our words are that powerful. And just like you said, and maybe you don't come up with 10, maybe you start with 2, maybe you start with just 1, right? But you have to identify and become aware of something that you want to change. And then you get what do you want to believe about yourself? And then you start looking for that. So powerful. And we can feel the goodness out of you just through talking. And I know others can too. Like you
thank you.
believe what you're saying and you're
Yeah,
doing what you're saying. You're not just telling us, do this, this, and this, and you're doing something different. Like we can tell that belief is really in you. So thank you so much. How can people find you? Where's your podcast? Where can they find you if they want to work with you? Have you come in and speak? Like give us where we can find you at.
thank you. Yeah. So my podcast is called a Beliefcast. If you go to on any platform, Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to your podcast, just type in Beliefcast. It's all one word. It'll pull it up. And I have a website. It's toddinspires.com. And you can also get to my podcast that way as well. And then my social media handle on Instagram is at TSinspires. And also on Facebook, the same as well, So same as that. And then, yeah, I'd love to have you guys reach out. You can contact me, that way, and love to have you follow. And I think you would be inspired by the podcast that you would hear on there. Becky's been on there several times, and I think you guys would love it, and it'll really make a difference in your life.
It is. It's a life-changing podcast, because it's like you said, you're sharing people's stories, and their story is significant, but yet their story gives someone else hope and belief that they can change theirs, or that they can keep stepping forward, or that they can
Right.
take that next action when they feel so stuck. And that's what this world's all about, right?
Yep.
Helping one another.
We
And
need
you
each
are
other.
such an example of that.
Yep.
Todd, thank you so much for being with us and helping us kind of discover your way of having the power of words work in your life. I just am such a believer in the power of conversation and words and hearing those things. And so I hope that we've all taken something today, that we can take these words in our lives and put them on and practice them, because I think that's the step to keep each of us moving forward to live an amazing life. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
To learn more about my work as a leadership speaker and coach, visit becomingwithbecky.com. Subscribe to The Word Effect and join me next time as we explore the power of intentional language.